Hey there, Nick Genitakis here. In this video, we're going to go through the motions of what it's like to maintain an open source project. So in this video, we're going to go over things like what it's like when someone opens an issue on your repo, all the way to debugging some stuff, creating tests, updating changelogs, and pushing new releases on GitHub, as well as any other platforms that your tool might need to actually push a release. I'm a big fan of using real-world examples, so in this video, we're going to focus on this repo that we're looking at, which is the Ansible Docker repo. And this is an Ansible role that allows you to install Docker and Docker Compose on a Debian or Ubuntu-based server. Now, if you don't know what Ansible or Docker are, that's okay, because the real main takeaway of this video is the overall workflow of like maintaining an open source library. These are things that I do for basically all of my projects, even if they're not for Ansible or Docker. But of course, some of the steps are going to be specific to this, but generally speaking, 90% of it is not. So let's get right into it. So the other day I woke up and I got an email from GitHub, almost like the Tooth Fairy, but for GitHub issues. And this person opened up an issue saying that they tried to use one feature of this role and it no longer worked. And that was kind of interesting because I am using this role on my own servers, and as of, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks ago or so is the last time I used it. It worked completely fine. And I'm not trying to like do a humble brag or quote unquote flex here, but you know, this has 432 stars. This is a sort of a popular project, right? It's one of the most popular Ansible roles to install Docker. So it was kind of interesting to see that he had this issue, whereas a couple of weeks ago when I ran this against my own server, I did not have any issues. But what was really great about this issue is he was able to provide me a reproducible test case. So that's a very important thing, especially when you're updating or posting an issue on someone else's repo. You know, if you just open up an issue and you're just like, hey, fuckface, go ahead and fix the issue. Your code is broken. Like, what are they going to do with that, right? Or, you know, you're never going to be that hostile, but sometimes passive aggressiveness, or you just don't provide details, it becomes very frustrating for both people, like the maintainer of the project and the person posting, because it's like without the details, what do you like, how are you going to reproduce the problem? So if someone has like a very long template where they're like, what's the version for this? What's the version for that? You know, what's the minimal steps? Like, you know, they're not doing that to give you busy work. They're just doing that to avoid the back and forth of having to ask those questions later. So this person was able to provide a very good reproducible test case, and I was able to reproduce it on a brand new server. So that was very cool. Now, long story short, going all the way back down to here, you know, I ended up setting up a brand new DigitalOcean server, and I reproduced the problem, and I ultimately figured out what the problem was, but it was a crazy one. So yeah, when you're dealing with virtual environments in Python, one of the most popular tools to use, and we can just take a look here on PyPy, is virtualenv, right? That's this tool over here. And where is it? Oh, over here. Okay. So typically, like if you're running your Python code in Docker, you wouldn't even be using a virtual environment, right? Like, but the overall goal of what a virtual environment allows you to do is to basically segment your Python libraries into different folders, so that if you have like two projects or whatever using different versions of different packages, they're not going to like compete over each other, and you're not going to get any conflicts. So part of what this Ansible role does is it creates a virtual environment just to pip install Docker Compose, as well as the Docker Python module, so that other Ansible modules can use functionality to interact with Docker over its API. Like, that's sort of low-level details about this role specifically. But long story short, the Docker and Docker Compose Python packages need to be installed on your server. And I wanted to install them in a virtual environment. So part of what my role does is it installs virtual environment, and you know, it pip installs it like this. Now, if you take a look here at the release history, we can see February 10th, 2020, a couple days ago, is when they shipped this version. But if you go back to December, November, October, there's this older like 16x version, and on all of my servers, that's what I'm using. So I'm using, what is it, 16.78? Like, I'm using older versions, like somewhere in this neighborhood, and all of these work completely fine. But the problem was this. So, and this is a crazy, crazy, crazy one. So this role creates a symlink, and if you don't know what a symlink is, it's basically an alias. It's a way for you to run a short command, and you end up getting this thing back. But it's not quite the same as like a bash alias. Because it's like a file system level thing. It's technically a file. Like, I'm not going to get into the whole entire details of what a symlink is, but long story short, is when you run this command here, Python docker, which is going to launch your Python interpreter in the context of that virtual environment. If you try to do an import docker, it's going to fail. However, if you run this command instead, which is really the destination of the symlink, and you do the same import, then it works. So eventually I figured out, and this is like a general debugging tip. It's like you always just want to go like back one level of abstraction, try to get to like the lowest level. So like the symlink was created and the symlink didn't work. Okay, so what happens when I remove the symlink from the equation and try to run this like manually? And that's what I was thinking in my mind. And when I did that and it worked, I'm like, okay, well, it worked months ago with the symlink, but now it doesn't work with the symlink, but it still works if I use the raw path. So you can kind of just use like, I guess, logic or whatever to kind of determine that like, okay, there must be something wrong with the symlink. Like, what is wrong with the symlink? And then I just started thinking like, well, it's been a couple of months and, different versions of Ansible came out. Maybe I recently updated Ansible and like the module that I deal with to create the symlink, maybe that changed or something like that. But then I'm like, the odds of that are so low because it's like so many people use Ansible, and that would be a huge bug if that was it would be a widespread bug and fixed by now. So then I actually went on to IRC because I Googled for the problem a bit. I'm like, why aren't symlinks working when it comes to using virtual environments or whatever? And all the Google results that I found, they didn't have anything remotely close to what I was doing. So this was like a brand new problem. So I went into IRC and into the Python channel, and I just wrote out basically the problem I was having. And someone was like, have you tried to install a different version of virtualenv? And I'm like, no, I didn't think to do that. And when I did install an older version of virtualenv, then suddenly everything worked. And what I ended up doing was I ended up creating a bug report for virtualenv. And, I gave them as much details as I could. I'm like, here's my environment. This is what I ran. This is what I ran. And ultimately it came out to having different output when you do assist that path. Now, this is basically a way to see like what paths Python is going to look for certain libraries. And you can see here, when I use the symlink, the Python Docker one, there's certain paths that are missing. Whereas down here, when I run the full binary, this path over here is the one that exists. And this is like the really important one. This is the one where Docker and Docker Compose are installed to in this virtual environment. So in any case, I wrote down, hey, if I downgrade to an older version of virtualenv, then they're the same and everything works. And this guy also gave a little bit more of a minimal test case. And then it was determined to be a bug, and eventually it's going to get fixed. Now, here's the thing. It is not fixed yet, but I don't want my Docker rule to be broken. So it's like, well, what do you do to get around that? Well, as it turns out, this is like the process of debugging the problem, right? It's like once you know what the problem is, solving it usually isn't too bad. So if I go to the role here and I go down to one of these tasks, these are all the things that get run against the server using like Ansible's YAML. One of the things that I do here is I install virtualenv with the pip module. So it's essentially running pip install virtualenv. Now, I'm usually very, very strict when it comes to version locking things. And this was just one case where I did not version lock virtualenv. And on a brand new server, it's going to pull down the latest version, which is 20.03, and that one has the bug. Whereas a couple of weeks ago, 5-6 weeks ago, this would have pulled down this instead, a 16.79 or whatever, and the bug wouldn't be there. So that's really like the problem. The problem is we need to do something to fix that bug. And there's actually a couple of different ways to approach this. And now I think I'm going to switch over to a code editor, because this is going to involve like actually fixing the bug, testing the bug, and making sure things work, and then pushing things up to GitHub. So let's go back right to that tasks file. It's down here is what we were looking at before. So we have this one task that installs virtual environment. So one thing I could do here is just do 16.79 and hard lock it to that. And I have a feeling this would fix the problem. But I kind of don't like this solution because, one, it's hard coding it to a really old version. Like eventually that bug's going to be fixed in a 20x release. And then I'm thinking like, well, why am I using Debian as a server or Ubuntu in the first place. And it's because of stability, right? There's a lot of workflows and crazy things that happen under the, like behind the scenes, to make sure that libraries that get included in the apt package manager are super well tested, super stable. They're not going to have weird bugs. They're not ever changing, right? Like Debian and Ubuntu LTS specifically are really, really good releases for a server because things just don't change every couple of weeks. Like when you're living on the bleeding edge, you run into bugs like this. So then I'm thinking like, well, maybe it's a good idea to install virtual environment from apt, specifically the apt package manager, instead of pip installing it. And if I go back to that issue down here, I think I already closed it. Well, it was this one here. You know, I wrote, let's see, this loads. Yeah. So I wrote like, you know, hey, if you just want to verify this right now, if you do this, like basically what I just mentioned in Vim there, can you verify that it works? But alternatively, yeah, maybe we can just make it an apt package. And then he's like, yeah, okay, I pinned it and it worked. And let's go in and actually implement this change. So one thing that I want to do is I want to get rid of this completely because I don't want to pip install virtual environment anymore. I just want to apt install it. So now if I go to my Ansible defaults here, and you know, it's going to require some Ansible knowledge, but I have things set up to where I can actually install specific packages that are required to make this role work, like apt packages. So I want to install now the virtual environment package by default. And yeah, this will just install a virtual environment using apt. It's going to get some older version. That's whatever is an apt repo or app's repo, and things will work. We're going to test that, but I'm pretty sure they're going to work. Now, I also have documentation for this role. So what was this called? Really? I just want to, oh, here it is. Yeah, I just want to make sure I update my documentation. That's another thing too. It's like, you know, if you're going to create an open source project, it's a good idea to have some good documentation. And when you make a code change, so we made a code change in this one file here, defaults main.yaml. Like this is the real, like legit file that Ansible uses. But this other file that we were just looking at here is the README file. So this is like the documentation you would see on GitHub or whatever. So yeah, now installing virtualenv is a thing. And I also just realized that I did make a change not too long ago where I added GCC to a list of packages, and I actually forgot to update the docs. So, and actually, if I take a look here at the changelog, I added GCC as a dependency because Docker Compose, a newer version of Compose needs that, but I didn't update my docs. So, shame, Nick, shame. And it's too bad, but I'll have to, well, you know what? I can probably just roll back that commit because I didn't push it, and then I can do that. Okay, that's a good idea. So maybe we can do a little side topic here. GitHub, Ansible Docker. If I do a git status here, we can see that I made some changes to a couple of things. But let me just roll back to a previous commit, fix the documentation for the GCC one, because if I do a git log here, you can see add GCC as a Docker Compose dependency, and I want to get rid of that. So I'm just going to reset back one, like, and now if I do a git log, you can see that that entry is gone. So now I can actually go and do a git add p, which is something I really like to do. Basically allows you to get very specific git commit messages. Like instead of adding an entire file, you can choose little tiny chunks of what you want to commit. So I definitely want to update the changelog. I definitely want to update this as part of that GCC commit, but I don't want the virtual env part. So there's one option you can do when it comes to git add p where you can split it with the S key. So now it's like, okay, I just want the GCC. And then I'm just going to quit because I don't care about anything else. Those are related to a different commit. So now I can do a git commit, add GCC as a Docker dependency. All right, that is good. And now if I go back to git log, we can see it's been added up here. And if I do a git diff, well, why does it still say GCC there? Did I forget to add something? Oh yeah, so I'm so stupid. Like how could a human being be that dumb? So it's because the video is rolling. I promise you I'm not that stupid. So here, okay. So I want to update the changelog. I want to split that and actually commit that. just that part. But I don't want to quit now. I want to skip this by doing no. But now I want to split this for the README file because that's what I forgot to do before, like a second time. And I'll commit that, and now I'll quit. And now I can do git commit add that. And if I do git log there it is. And then if I do a git diff, now we only have the virtual env change and getting rid of this task. But I'm not sure if that's all I want to do for the changes here. Just adding virtual env as a list of packages, okay. What else? We remove the task for installing pip with, or installing virtual env with pip, okay. I'm not sure if this is even going to work yet, but it would be really nice if maybe I wrote some tests so that this problem never happens again in the future. Okay, so if I open up some nerd tree here, you can see I have a test directory and I have a test.py file. And this uses a library called test infra to basically test your Ansible stuff. And definitely not going to get into that, but I do want to write a new test because I don't want this problem to ever happen again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy one of this test here. So this test is like a very, very simple one on the server, or wherever you're running this against. It's going to do a docker -- version and make sure that it returns a status code of 0, meaning like the command didn't fail. So I'm going to copy that, bring that down here, and let's say rename this test to be test Python, I guess, Docker module instead of version. And what do we want to run? Well, we want to run the symlink, which is Python Docker. And what we want to do is to basically import the Docker module. So when it comes to the Python interpreter, I don't know if you know this one, but you can just pass in a -c flag and just start putting in like arbitrary code to run. So we can just do import Docker, just like that. And I think that should work because now the test will just run Python C Docker, import Docker. And I can actually just show you what I mean here. Like if I open up Python, I have 2.7 installed still. It's an older version of Ubuntu. Well, it's 18.04, but anyways, if you do something like a print hello, right, you can do, well, actually, let me just do something like import sys, right? Like I just imported the sys module. Now I can run something like syspath, right? But what you could do with Python is you can just do this, where you double quote that, and then you can do import sys, and like that just imported sys. It didn't do anything else. I think you just separate them with a semicolon. I'm not actually too sure on this one. Let's see if that works. Well, wait, what am I doing? Maybe I need to print that when I'm doing it like this or something? No? Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So you can see, like, instead of having to, run the interpreter, type import sys, and then all of this, you can just roll it up into a single command that gives you the output. So that's what I'm doing here. So in this case, I just want to check to make sure that I can import the Docker module, because with the previous version of the code base, this test would for sure fail. And now I hope that this doesn't fail. So now that we have our implementation set up, let me actually go to the changelog and add a new thing here. So, well, I'm not sure if this is going to fix. I'm pretty sure it is, but it's going to be like fix Docker module import error well, I don't think I need to even, like, at this point, it's like, this is the changelog for my project. I don't need to get into the gory details of like placing blame on virtual environment or virtualenv. So I think fix Docker module so that you can use the Docker Ansible modules. I don't know how long that's going to be when it comes to previewing this in GitHub. So let me just open up, if I knew how to spell, Markdown preview. Thanks. It actually opened up on my second monitor. Let me just bring that up over here. So things are going to be small for a second. Bear with me. So we can see here, yeah, it should fit on one line. So this, I basically just ran a Markdown preview, opens it up in the browser. I've done videos on this in the past, but we can see here, add UC as dependency, okay. Fix Docker module import error so that you can use the Docker Ansible modules. Cool. So that all works. Anything else that I need to do? Well, I don't think so, but I'm not going to just push this up to the wild without testing it, because that would be pretty crazy. So what I'm going to do is Docker, going to run this script that I have. I literally haven't even named it yet. It's called Project X, and it is basically a test suite for Docker. Well, it's a test suite. No, I don't even know what I'm saying. It's not a test suite for Docker. It is a script that allows you to test your Ansible roles. Now, a really long time ago, like 5 years ago, I wrote this one library called role test, and that was a library that allowed you to basically test all of your roles in like an LXC, like a Linux container before Docker existed. But yeah, for the past, I don't know, year or so, I've written this. Well, really sorry about that. I just hit my mic stand with my hand. That was probably really loud. But and this is going to take a while to run, by the way. So anyways, a long time ago, or about a year ago, I wrote this one little script called Project X that allows you to basically run all of your Ansible roles in isolation inside of a Docker container. And it goes through the motions of doing things like creating a new container, linting your role at Flake8 and YAML lint and Ansible lint, and then it checks your syntax, and then it's going to run your playbook. Like, these are all super Ansible specific things, but we don't need to worry about that too much. This is an idea, like this is a showcase of Ansible running. It's running a little bit slow now because I'm still using WSL version 1. That's going to hit the spring release of 2020 for Windows Stable. That's going to speed things up quite a bit. But this role is now running inside of Docker, and it's going to install Docker and run all those tests that we looked at, which were down here. So all of these are eventually going to run once Ansible finishes doing its thing to install the Docker role. Because right now you can see it's like installing Docker's dependencies. Well, if I go back to my tasks main.file, like installing Docker's dependencies, that's this over here. So it's like apt installing that list of things, including virtual environment. Then it's going to start doing these other steps here once this one finishes. Like here is this one variable, right? Docker package dependencies. So if I open up the defaults file, the one that we just added virtualenv to, that's this one over here. So that's how that's getting in there. And that's what's happening right now behind the scenes. But it's also installing all of these things too, because these are required for Docker. Well, technically GCC is for Docker Compose, but this role installs both. So now that's a dependency. So hopefully in a second or two, this will finish. And by a second or two, I actually mean probably like a minute and a half. I don't know, is there anything interesting to talk about? Probably not. So I'm actually just going to speed up this video, and I will meet you back when it's done. Cool, so there it is. The whole entire thing finished in about, I don't know, maybe a minute after I paused the video. And we can see here that we have all 11 passing tests. So that's a very, very, very good result to see. So if I go back to this test.py file, all of these tests ran successfully, and they do all sorts of stuff like making sure the user's in the right group and all sorts of Docker related bits and pieces. But yes, the important thing is we were able to do that Docker import. Now, what's kind of neat here too is, I don't know if I want to clear that yet. Well, yeah, it doesn't really matter. If I do a Docker container ls here, this is the container that test script just ran. So what I can actually do is I can run, geez, it's been a while since I even used this script. What can I do? I can run the exec command and it'll just put me right into the container apparently. Apparently not. Maybe I just need to run bash because that's what I want to do. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So you can see here, if I run Python Docker, that's the symlink. And if I go and import Docker, then I can actually do that. I don't know if I can I even do things like, I never really used this, this Docker module before the Python one, but I vaguely remember, I think I can just get the version very easily. No, has no attribute get env. It's not worth it. Well, yeah, maybe it is worth it actually. Let me see. I need to look for Docker PyPy documentation or something. I just want to make sure that this actually works. So let's see. Yeah, read the docs for this thing. From env. Okay, I thought it was get env. No problem. So it's from env. Cool. So now I have this client. I think I can just get the version. Yeah, sweet. So everything actually works. I'm able to import the Docker module and it totally works. And if I go to, where was this? User local bin, I think it was. yeah, we can see here that this Python Docker, there's the symlink. The symlink is pointing to here. And if I run that manually, then I can also import Docker here, because if you try to import something that doesn't exist, it wouldn't even work anyways. Like this was the bug previous to the fix. That's what you would get. But yeah, so everything seems to be working pretty nicely. Well, the tests pass, manual check even passes. So what I could do here is just kill that container. And I think we are ready to push this up to GitHub. So I'm not going to create a release yet because I want to see a run on CI and also pass, which runs against more than just Ubuntu 18.04, which is what this test script just ran against. But yeah, let me see what we're dealing with here. Okay, so let me clear out this mess here and just do a git add p again and start committing things. So we have part of our changelog, fixed Docker module import error so that you can use the Docker Ansible modules. I'm reading that out loud because it's like important to test these things for typos. And I find that reading things out loud really helps with grammar mistakes as well. So then we added, this is the README file. Now we can see the diff here for README. I want to add the virtualenv package to the README. Yes, I want that. And now we're dealing with the defaults, that main.yaml file. We want to add the package here, which is super important. Yep, we want that. Then we want to remove that pip install task, right? Because now it's being installed with apt. Yep, totally want that. And now we have a new test suite here, or a new test function that asserts that the return, the exit code for this command is 0, meaning it works. And we run our symlink to import Docker. Yes, okay. And now we need to create a good commit for this one. We don't just want a one-liner like fix bug or whatever. We want to do fix Python module import bug with, that's not going to fit, with Python Docker symlink. I know that's going to turn white at the end. Yeah, we can see the syntax highlighting. Your first line commit messages really shouldn't be longer than 50 characters. So let's see. I guess I can get rid of that fix module import error. Yeah, I guess that's fine. I like to be pretty explicit what my commit message is, like what the problem was. So previously, virtualenv was installed using pip, and it got the latest release, which currently, as of Feb 13th, let's see. Previously, virtualenv was installed using pip, and it got the latest release, which currently, as of, is 20. Okay, this release has a bug with module imports. When you run a symlinked binary instead of the full path. So now, as an alternative, as a solution, we're now apt installing virtualenv instead of living, I was going to say living on the edge, but instead of installing the latest release using pip. Okay, fix module import error with Python Docker symlink. And I'm also going to throw on spell check here. Okay, these are fine because these are just like programming terms. So let me turn that off. Fix module import error with Python Docker symlink. Previously, virtualenv was installed using pip, and it got the latest release, which currently, as of February 13th, is blah, blah, blah. This release has a bug with module imports when you run a symlink binary instead of the full path. As a solution, we're now apt installing virtualenv instead of installing the latest release using pip. Okay. Now I'm going to commit that. Phew. Okay. And now, and by the way, it's like, you may think that's like not necessary to proofread your stuff, but I don't know about you. I especially do this with tweets where it's like, I'll tweet something, proofread it like 4 times, and then I'll tweet it and it's fine. And then it's like, Jesus Christ, there was a typo, or like I forgot a word or whatever. So now I'm going to go and push this up to master. Let me just make sure do I want to push this right now? We went through everything. Yeah. I mean, these are like just like mental checks that I like to go through. I believe we are good. There's nothing else. Everything is commit. Everything is working. Did I forget anything? No whammies. Red button pushed. Well, technically it's like push to GitHub, right? But it's like now what I want to do is go to, let me first zoom out of this because this is like crazy zoom. Now, if I go back to here, we can see that Travis CI just kicked in based on this commit that was just pushed to fix the module import error, which is this commit right here. You know, this is just what we just wrote and pushed up. And we can see a review of the changelog, the virtual environment, got rid of that, added that, you know, all that stuff we just went over. Now, what I want to see happen is I want to see this test pass from CI, because CI is right now is being run. I don't know, can I even look at this live? I think so. Wow, come on GitHub, let me middle click that. Oh, okay, that works. That works just fine. So here is CI running, and it is running against Ubuntu 18.04, 16.04, Debian 9, Debian 10. These are all happening in parallel. These are all the supported operating systems for this role. And of course, when Ubuntu 20.04 hits in a couple months, I'm going to be updating for that. But yeah, let's go and look at just at one of these as it runs. So Travis CI is free for open source projects. It's really nice because it gives you this little neat badge, and you can just see and have all of your tests run automatically when you push things to your code base, which is pretty useful, especially for pull requests when other people push code to your repo. It's really nice to have these tests run automatically so you can test their pull request like without even having to do it locally. So all of this craziness that's going on now is basically what we just saw get run through my Project X script is now being run on Travis CI. Cool. So this is going to be one of those things where it's going to take a minute. You know, now it's running inside of Travis CI. I don't know how long it's going to take exactly, but I am going to pause the video now and I'll meet you back when it's done. So it looks like we got an error here, and yeah, it's a good thing that we tested it on CI, because my little Project X script, I think it had a dependency installed in the Docker environment that typically wouldn't exist on a bare bones Ubuntu system. So the issue basically is when it came down to pip installing Docker Compose, you remember how I mentioned before, like GCC needs to be installed on the system because newer versions of Docker Compose need that library to compile some, I guess, system level dependencies. And if you go through this monstrous error down here, eventually it gets to the point where it just says like fatal error, Python.h, no such file or directory. And this means that when GCC was being used to compile something for Docker Compose, you know, this header file is missing. And typically what that means is you need to install some other apt package to fulfill this requirement. And in this case, that is going to be Python-dev. So that's a new thing that we need to basically patch and push. So I guess that the real takeaway here was I probably should have tested this maybe on like a live DigitalOcean server instead of my test script before pushing it up to GitHub. But I mean, it's like the release is still the old release that's been up and running. You know, all we did was push new code to the master branch, but now it kind of sucks because I have to go back and add something else to here. So, and this is going to be a tricky one because we can't just install Python-dev, because what if they're using Python 3? Then it's Python 3-dev. I think I have that pattern being used somewhere here. Let me think about this one. So if I open up my tasks file for main.yaml, I think I have interpreter somewhere. I don't have that anywhere else. Okay, what if I search this file for interpreter? I don't even know how to spell preter. There we go. No, okay, so that's the only spot I have that. But I could have sworn I had something where it was like, if Python version 2 or version 3, it does something different, like an if condition. Do I not have that in this repo? I thought I did. Just looking through. Because ideally what I would like to do is in this defaults.main file, I would like to install Python dev, but I don't want to just install that because if they're using Python 3, you need Python 3 dev. Oh, there it is. Sweet. I knew I had it. I wasn't that crazy. So Python pip, okay, so that's not even going to be, okay, so this is going to go into Python pip dependencies. Geez, maybe I should have put virtualenv there instead, because that's really a better spot for it instead of package dependencies for Docker. And that means GCC would go there too. And this is what happens when you do coding live on a video. You end up making all sorts of mistakes. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but yeah, it's way better to put it in Docker pip dependencies, because if I go into main.yaml, I open up here, pip dependencies, it still runs app. Like they're just, you know, both of these variables get combined, but it's better to put them in here because they're typically, they're related to pip installing Docker and Docker Compose. Yeah, all right. So basically I need to move that there, move this to here, make the same change in the README file. What am I doing? GCC gets moved down to the pip one, down over here. This is turning out to be a long video. Apologies, what? I can't even speak anymore. My apologies. But I mean, this is what it's really like when you're dealing with like an open source project. Sometimes you push code and you make a mistake, and it's not the end of the world. And this is really like, ultimately it does the same exact thing. It's just better categorized to be here, and they're alphabetized. Okay, so GCC there is, virtualenv is there. Okay. So now things are going to start to get even a little bit more interesting, because we just moved those to different spots, but we also still need to do the installing the Python-dev, but using this little if condition as well. But I feel like moving these to a different place should be in its own commit. So let me clear this, and then we'll do a git add p. Yeah, we moved it. All right, that's the README file, and that's the README file also. So we move those to there, move those to there. Now for the actual defaults file, okay, we move those from there to here. Okay, cool. So now it's just like move GCC and virtualenv. Well, I don't know if that's going to fit in one line, so let me double check it here. Move GCC and virtualenv to pip dependencies. Cool if it's in one line. Move GCC and virtualenv. Okay, that's fine. Done. So now what we need to do is go back to our other terminal window here, duplicate this. This becomes -dev instead of just -pip, because we need, this is the library that we need. We need Python-dev, or we need Python 3-dev, depending on if Ansible is using Python 2 or 3. So we got that going on. Cool. That is our defaults, that main.yaml file. We also need that change to be in our README file. That is going to be right here, right? Dev Python 3, installing pip and its dependencies. Okay. Yeah, I think that is it. So now we go back to this and we do our git add p again. Git add p. And okay, that is for our README file. And then we need to do, wait, what? Oh, okay. I was looking at this, like 755 permissions. That's something I should probably fix too. Okay. But that's, give me a second here. Okay, so that's the defaults main. This is what we need. Okay. And then we will get commit. All right. Fix missing Python.h header for installing. Oh, please fit. Bastard. Fix missing Python when installing Compose. Oh, maybe that will work. Oh my God, one character. So picky. Jeez. Fix missing Python header when installing Compose. Fix Python. Maybe I can do, there we go. Fix Python.h header error when installing Docker Compose. All right. Well, just as Compose, but that's fine. I'm willing to deal with that. Now I think, I mean, this would be a good spot to probably run a test locally in my script before even pushing it to GitHub. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Let me just see if, make sure there's nothing else running here. Docker container ls, Docker RMF. I'm just killing off that old container because I want a fresh one. Okay. So now we're going to run our test suite again. And this is going to take a couple of minutes, so I'm going to pause the video again, and I will meet you back when it's done. Okay, and we're back, and we can see here at the bottom, all of the tests pass. So going back to all that stuff we just did, I don't think there's anything else to commit here. Let me just see. Yeah, that is good. If we do a get status here, there is nothing new. But we didn't push up those latest commits that we just made. But remember before I mentioned that 755. So WSL's file system, file permissions are all sort of busted. If you modify files in Windows, they all become 755. You know, that's why if I go back to here, you can see all of these have like, you know, these are all executable files. Like, what craziness. So what I would like to do as part of this new release that we're about to make for this role is to maybe fix all of these to be what they should be. So 644 for files, 755 for folders. So let me go to my aliases here. I just want to show you, I do have an alias set up to do this very quickly. So hope I'm not showing anything too crazy here. No, everything is good. So I have an alias where I can just run 644f. And what it does is in the current directory, it takes all the files and it just makes them 644. So I'm going to do that, and I'm inside the Ansible Docker folder. And that should run pretty fast. I don't know what's taking so long. Maybe, oh, because probably the Git folder takes a while. So then we have 755 for the directories, and that does the same thing, but in this case, type D, and then it's going to 755 them. So let's see. Now if I go back to Vim, things are still crazy looking, but if I reload nerd tree, there we go, then everything is cool. Nice. So our permissions are fixed, but that also means now if I do a get diff here, there's probably like 8,000 changes. If I do a get status, yeah, we can see all of the file permissions changed. So what I like to do in this spot is just do like a git add -a, which is adding all the files. And then the commit here, I'll just do something like fix directory and file due to WSL. Yeah, WSL's file system, you know, doesn't support proper Linux. Well, technically now it does, but yeah, I'm not going to even write all the context here. That's fine. So now we can see all these things changed, the permissions, but yeah, I mean, now we are ready to do a git push again. Because I don't need to go back to the changelog and add those like reordering of those things because I didn't even make the release yet. Okay. So what did I just do though in this one? Well, technically, this just says add GCC as a dependency since Compose needs it. But now actually this does get changed. And Python dev. Well, you know what? How do I want to write that? Well, you know what? No, I'm just going to make this a new thing, right? Yeah. Add Python dev as dependency since Docker Compose 1.25 needs it. And I'll put that one below. Okay. But now it's really Python 2. It's either this or that. So how do I want to write that? Tricky thing, like first world problems. I mean, putting something like that just seems stupid because that doesn't even look, well, it's not that stupid, is it? Like, how else can you say like it's maybe 3? Like that sort of maybe says that. Or yeah, I'm happy with that. But what I really did though, what I screwed up though, let me go to get log here. Man, this is me floundering on video. Geez, almost thinking about scratching the video, but we've been through so much. Okay. Well, what I could do then is I'll do our get reset head 1. Okay. That gets rid of all of our file permission changes, and we're back to fix Python header error when installing and compose. Because I want that, all right, I want this commit here to be part of my changelog one. So maybe I just need to reset again. Move GCC to pip dependencies. Yeah, so now if I do a git status, all those permissions are going to be mixed in. That's okay though. But it's going to make doing a git add p really annoying, I think, because it's going to be, yeah, a million mode changes. So what file did we make those changes in? All right, so now you can scope this to like a specific file too. So you can do git add p readme. Okay, I'm going to skip that. Yes, this is what I want. So we added the dev one. Okay, and then we also did it to the defaults.main YAML. Skip the mode. Add it here. Okay, and then we want to do git add p for the changelog. Skip the mode. Add p's dependencies. Okay. Now we need to do our commit, which I actually forgot what we wrote a couple of minutes ago. What was it? Like add, it was something with the Python header error. So it was like fix Python.h header when installing compose. Yeah, that was it. Fix Python.h header. No, fix Python.h error when installing compose, not Docker. Very, very important to proofread your stuff multiple times. Okay, so we got that going on. Now, if I do a git status here, we have all those changes for the file permissions because they're still what they were on disk. Like they're still fixed, but now they need to make their way back into Git. So we can do git add a again. Let me just, I want to double check that. So git add p. Man, am I really going to have to know through all of these? There we go. There we go. Cool. I just wanted to make sure that the only changes here are the mode changes, so the files being changed. So we are safe to do git add p, and we are safe to do fixed. And there's actually fixed file permissions due to WSL. That's good enough. Fixed file permission due to. All right. Cool. Cool. So now I think we are ready to do a git push because it is going to push the last 3 commits here. We can see by 3 commits. If I do a git log here, that is going to mean it is going to push this one, and this one. Okay. Push this to origin master. Then we go back to our trusty Travis CI. So let me reload the page here just to make sure what's going on. 35 seconds ago. Okay. So bring this one up. And we are now back to Travis, rerunning the tests here. Also, you know, like if I go to build history here on Travis, we can see that this one failed. So they've been passing for quite some time. And yeah, this one failed. And this one's all the way back. 5 months ago was the last time it ran. So maybe what would be interesting, I know Travis CI has an option to do this. Where is it though? More option requests? I don't know. Well, wait, I'm not gonna be able to do this because I'm logged out because I'm in Firefox, not Chrome. And I don't even know what my Travis CI password is. Well, it looks like you can sign in with GitHub. All right. Well, that was basically the easiest thing ever. So let's see, what do I want to do? Yeah, here we go. Maybe settings, because there's a way in Travis CI to make this automatically run on a certain schedule. So it would be really cool maybe if I can set up, yeah, here we go. So on the master branch, am I in the right repo? Ansible Docker? Yes. So in the master branch, every month, I want it to always run. So now what's going to happen is every single month, even if I don't push a build to this repo, Travis is going to run it, and then it'll notify me if my tests start to fail. So it's basically like a way for me to get notified if things go wrong. Otherwise, if I hear nothing, it uses the Unix philosophy, like no news is good news. So that's really awesome. That's something I should probably set up for all of my repos. I haven't been doing it though, because I don't know. Eventually I'll do it. So let's see, build history for this one. We need to go and look at that. Let's go to the Ubuntu 18.04 one, just like we did last time. And when did this thing blow up last time? I'm trying to think. It was around this point, like installing the Python packages. Yeah, like Docker Compose now just successfully installed, but it didn't before. So we got past that error, which is good. And now it's running the playbook again to do like a test to make sure that nothing changed the second time around, because that's an important thing with Ansible. You know, you want to make your playbooks idempotent, meaning like if you run them 100 times, it's going to be no different than running them twice. Like nothing new changes the second time around. Yeah, so all of the tests pass. So now we are in a position now where things pass. I mean, that's a dirty commit because it just screwed up everything. It's such like an irrelevant commit too. But how long is this video? Jesus, man, 59 minutes. Okay, but that's going to be edited down because we were waiting for 5 minutes a couple times. Cool, but it's still a long video. But in any case, this will change to passing like in a second. Travis just needs to update its cache for that little button because we can see that it passed here fully. So now we are actually ready to create a new release, because what we just did now is we just pushed it to GitHub, right? But if I go to my releases here, it's still 1.91. So what I want to do now, let's go back to my code editor here, go back to the changelog and release. Well, what I like to do usually here is I'll just like copy that and then I will paste it here and get rid of these here, because this is like the next release, right? The upcoming release in the future. But now what I'm doing is I'm going to make a new release called 1.92, which did all of these fixes that we had. And when is this released? February, I can never spell this one, 13th, 2020. We also do a spell check on that. Yep, cool. Yeah, so we got that. And then also, this is another interesting one. In my README file, I have a link. I know I had made this problem once before, near the top. So there's a little warning here that says like, yo, you're reviewing the master branch's documentation, which might be ahead of the latest release. And then I have a little link here to make sure to link to the latest release, because now that's been updated to v1.92. So now if I go back to here, I clear that, I do a git add p. You can see I'm going to update my changelog. That is now version 1.92. What does this do? Well, it adds that as a dependency. It adds this as a dependency, since fix okay. When it was released today. Is today the 13th? Yes, it is. Okay, so I definitely want that. And I definitely want the update to the README file. Okay, then I could commit that. I could say something like bump roll to v12. And again, this is going to change, like, you know, this is an Ansible role, so it's like I'm bumping the role. But if this were like a Python package or a Ruby package or an Elixir package or whatever, then you would do like bump package to 1.92 or whatever it is. So I did that. And now what I want to do is I want to do get tag, because we want to make a new tag for version 1.92. And then I want to push this to origin master with -- tags, which means it's going to also push up all the tags. And yeah, that should kick off another Travis CI build, which will take a second here. But now you can see before I reload the page, 18 releases, right? But if I reload the page now, there's 19 releases. And if I go, and you can see Travis is running now based on that commit from 30 seconds ago. And this commit to bump the roll to 1.92 was what we just saw. But if I go back to releases here, we can see that, 42 seconds ago, it's a sign that we have the new release, v.192. But now there is one last thing that I need to do here, which would be updating this on the Ansible Galaxy. The Ansible Galaxy is basically like a way to discover roles for Ansible, similar to like what PyPy might be for Python to some extent, but not really. It's sort of like a package manager, but what I need to do is I need to refresh the role there because I don't have any like API hooks set up. So let me go to, where is it? My imports. I always forget because I don't do this that often. Maybe preferences? No. And I don't care. Yes, that's my email address. It's public on my website, public on GitHub. Please don't spam me. But, oh, maybe it's my content. Yeah, there we go. This is like super small too. Apologies. Filter by name, Docker. Install Docker repositories. Wait, why is it called Oh, that's the name of the role is Docker. Yeah, duh. You can see too, it's rated 5 of 5 because the quality score is good. Like it does all the things that Ansible requests to give you a high quality score. Okay. But you can see here too, it's like the latest version is 1.91. We need to sync that so that becomes 1.92. And I think I screwed up because I need to go back one. So I need to find it here again, and I needed to click that import button. So this is something that could be automated with Travis CI. You can make it push a new or resync on the Ansible Galaxy. I'll do this eventually, but yeah, I can just import it here. It's just something I literally do like very, very infrequently. But it is a step, so it should be automated. But again, it's like, yeah, I don't know if I want to automate it though, because it's like, I only want that to run when I actually tag a new release, not like on every commit. And maybe there's a way to do it, but okay. So that's been imported. If I click here, we can see that 1.92 is now the latest release there. If I go to the build history here, did this one finish yet for the other one? No, it didn't. Okay. But if you go to the Ansible Galaxy here, it says here's how you install it. You would do this, and you would have the new release. So that was the whole entire process. And now actually, I guess like the conclusion, right, is to go to here and just be like, okay, this has been fixed in v1.92, which is available on the Ansible Galaxy. Thanks a lot for the bug report. Right. This has been fixed in v1.2, which is available on the Ansible Galaxy. Thanks a lot for the bug report. Yeah, closing comment. This has been fixed in v1. Cool. And now, oh my God, are you kidding me? How did that break? Really? 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 Oh, did it time out for some reason? Total time 9 minutes. Why did it blow up on Ubuntu 16.04, but it didn't on the other ones? Oh man, what happened here? Could life be this easy ever? No, never. And now I just went through the motions of like doing everything, like releasing it and all that. Let's go back to this error. What does this say? Deprecation warning? I don't see that Python.h error. Do you? Oh, package setup tools requires a different. Why is it using 3.5? This is an ancient version too. Like 16.04 is so old. Like 20.04. Like when is 16.04 end of life? Let's see. Ubuntu 16.04 LTS end of life. It's been end of life for almost a year. And I don't feel like modifying the role more to satisfy the requirements of 16.04. So what that means is 16.04, see you later, buddy. It's gone. You're dead. You're dead to me. So, all right, I need it from the README file, also from the metamain.file because it no longer is a version that is supported. Let's see. Let's do git add p here. Make sure it's all right. Fine. Xennial, okay. Anything else? Let me just make sure. This is a very hasty change. How do you spell Xennial? Xennial. Double check. Yes. Okay, so it's not in there anymore. Oh, almost forgot. In the Travis file, I need to tell it no longer to test that anymore. Could I just get away with just changing that and keeping the other ones? No, because it may potentially not work in Ubuntu 18.04 or 16.04. Okay. And by the way, this is the Travis file that kicks off like running a script. By the way, this is not the script I ran locally. This is like a very old crusty version of it that is like way different, but still works. And I'm afraid to change it because I didn't really test my other one very well. Well, I mean, it totally works, but it's not ready for me to actually open source it. I need to write documentations, clean up the code base a bit, and do all sorts of fun stuff. But okay, so let me do git add p again. Then, yeah, and then I can commit this. Let's see, drop support for Ubuntu 1604. It was officially end of life. I don't want it. Yeah, EOL is better. As of April, what was it? 29th, 2019 or something? I'm definitely going to double check that. I don't think it was 29, 25. Okay, let me make sure that's even right. Ubuntu LTS, 1604 LTS, reached end of life as of today, April 25th. Okay. So 25th it is. Drop support for Ubuntu 1604. It was officially end of life as of April 25th. Okay. And then one other thing too. Nope. I'm going to have to reset. Jeez, man, so many errors, so many errors. It's because I want to also update that in the changelog for the next release. But now technically, all right. Officially remove support for Ubuntu 1604. Yeah, I'm not going to push a 1.93. I'm just going to leave it as that for now because honestly, it's super unlikely people are even using 1604 still. And this other 1.92 release works fine for everybody else. So officially remove support for Ubuntu 1604 as the next release. Okay. So we got that going on. Then we will do our git commit. Nothing to commit. Yes, that's fine. Let me just make sure this is all in there. Yeah, remove that. Add that. Officially remove support. Okay. Remove that from there. Okay. Remove that from there. Okay. And now we can actually commit officially remove support for Ubuntu 1604. It's been end of life since April 25th, 2019. Cool. I'm going to git push origin master that. All right. Now it's going to kick off another release because that's going to fail, just like because it's going to fail in the same spot as before. But now this new one should pass. And I say should with pretty okay confidence. But I probably should also maybe import the role again from the Galaxy. Nah, I don't need to do that. All right, I'm going to take a look here. And you can see too, right, the 1604 is gone. Because if I go back to here and I take a look at the new Travis file, it's no longer a part of the environment. So it's not being run under that operating system. So I am going to pause the video until you see this pass, and then that will be the end of the video. So I will see you in a second. All right, and there we go. We can see that we have all passing tests for all supported operating systems. And I don't know if the badge is going to update yet, but that will take a couple of seconds. There we go. Cool. Build is passing. New release is out. Everything is good to go. It looks like I just got a notification from GitHub. What happened here? So that person actually replied, "Thanks for dealing with this so quickly." Kind of nice that I was able to include that in the video because you can see here, like we just commit that 10 minutes ago. He replied and issue solved. So that's basically a day in the life of like maintaining an open source repo. You know, there's a lot of things that went wrong in this video, and I'm still going to put it out there to the world. Hopefully you can learn from my mistakes. And with that said, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up because it really helps. And if you have any questions about the process, let me know in the comments below. And on that note, I will see you in the next video. Thanks again for watching.